Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Today we are talking with Venroy Bartley, one of the best players I think I've ever had come through at Laurier. You can see on the back wall, that's him kind of running out there on that image. Venroy, introduce yourself quickly here, and then we'll get into the interview.
Well, like you said, my name is Venroy Bartley. Currently, I'm a student studying business management at King's University, Western. I played senior basketball with Dave for 3 years, and it was a great experience. Some crazy memories that we have. We have a crazy bond. It was a lot of fun.
You spent all 5 years at Laurier. Talk about what it was like going from grade 8 and walking into Laurier for the first time. Talk about your experiences that way, as well as your grade 9 high school season. I mean, you had nothing but success throughout high school. You came into a program that was really flying, and you and the group of kids that were within your age group really took this program to new heights. But talk about grade 9.
Like my transition into grade 9?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the difficulties from grade 8 going into grade 9, and maybe we'll talk quickly about the basketball transition. I think everybody that we've talked to so far talks about how you go from the big man on campus in grade 8 to all of a sudden going onto a basketball team where you're one of 50 kids trying out. It's a tough transition.
Well, for me, I guess the transition was a little smoother because I had people that I knew, people that from my old school I knew, and they were coming as well to play basketball. And I also knew Jay, who was the junior coach, so that made it a little easier. But at the end of the day, there were still a lot of people that you didn't know. I met a lot of friends, a lot of people who were just as good as me, talent-wise. Like Mo, Alpha, Abba, Ruben, all those guys. So it wasn't really a gimmick, but I still realized I had to work hard. I had to do little small things, like dive for the ball, all that.
What your grade 9 year? That was the year you guys won the city finals. Unless I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure, right? That was the year Alden hit that 3-pointer at the buzzer.
Yeah, that year.
Yeah. So talk about that experience, because I think I don't think Laurier had the success that it up until that point, and talk about what that season meant to you, and must have been a lot of fun being on that team.
Well, there was always that talk. Always Beal's number one. Beal's gonna win every year. All that stuff. So we honestly, it felt like we had no pressure. We were the underdogs. We just had to go out and play. And then it was just a grind out game, tough. Beal had a lot of good players, and I knew a lot of the Beal players from gold medal, JC, Jaleel, all those guys, UL. And it's different when you play against your friends. But you still have to go and take their heads off. And then Alden, he was crazy, man. Alden was crazy with that shot.
I know in the last 4 years anyway, there's that unique bond between Laurier basketball and Beal basketball. And you said it. I think all you guys grew up playing against each other in public school, club ball, and then throughout high school. But it always had a neat, intense feel. Every game that I've been a part of in the last 4 years anyway, that really made that rivalry something special.
Because honestly, like, even though we're friends at the end of the day, we were still all really competitive, and we didn't want to see the other person get the best of us. Like, even now, like with Mo, I still play basketball with Mo Osman a lot of times, and I don't ever want to see him win. It's just a competitive nature, a competitive dog.
Well, Mo's a different animal, though. You don't want Mo to win because you'll never hear the end of it. I mean, that guy will never stop chirping. We had Iyad on here a couple weeks ago, and that's one thing he said. He plays a lot with Mo, and he goes, man, that kid nonstop. I mean, you don't want that kid to win because you'll never hear the end of it.
He still tells me about games he beat me in 5 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, he'll be living that the rest of his life. I mean, Mo's a different animal. God love him. God love him. Grade 10, I mean, that was probably the most successful junior team we've ever had. You guys won cities, and then you end up winning WASA as well.
Yeah.
Talk about that team, man. I mean, from a senior coach watching, I mean, I enjoyed watching those games. I mean, that was a talented team. What were your impressions of it and your experiences?
To be honest, that team felt like the most dominant team like I was ever on. Like we just had so much depth, so much talent. The starting five through the 13th man on the bench, like they could all play. There was never really a game where I walked in and said, you know, these guys are more talented than us. Like on all five positions, I knew there was a mismatch. And what also helped me was, well, if you watch me from grade 9 to grade 10, grade 9, I was more passive. And then I feel like grade 10, I started up my aggressiveness. And a lot of that comes down with Jay. Coach Jay, he took me aside one time in the summer and he said, this next year you have to really be more aggressive. You have to really try to control the offense, all this stuff. So that summer I really did work on my game a little bit. It was a long time ago, but I do remember it. Remember it, Jay.
Those memories, though, they'll stick with you the rest of your life, buddy. That's a beauty. That's the beauty of youth sports and sports in general, right? I can't recall a game that, I mean, there was a couple tournament games where, you know, a team would come in from out of town and play you guys tough, but locally there wasn't a team that could stand up to you guys. And that's without Ruben, because at that point we had moved Ruben up to senior that year as well. So you can only imagine how dominant that team would have been had Ruben stayed on that junior squad. Grade 11, your first year as senior. That was a unique year for us. We were coming off OSA, but we had lost a lot of guys. Gio, Nate, Kyle, a few other guys off that team. So we relied heavily on you guys coming in, and we struggled early. I'm sure you remember that season. You know, kind of talk us through the adjustment from grade 10 to grade 11.
It's so different from senior to junior. Just like we were talking earlier, weight room, just athleticism. It's a different game. I feel like a lot of calls go unmissed in senior basketball. You just have to be, and a lot of it's mental toughness as well. You just have to be tougher. And me personally, I know myself. I wasn't like the strongest, and I wasn't as tough as everybody else. So I really struggled my first year in senior.
I mean, I think part of that too, though, we relied probably a little too heavily on you. Just skill set coming up from junior, right? There is that adjustment period that kids need to work out from grade 10 to 11. I mean, you were more than skilled enough to play, but you were also playing with a lot of different talent on that team as well. I know going into the playoffs, we had our matchup versus Lucas. And that, I think, you know, most people within the city figured we were going to lose that game by double digits. And I love telling this story because that was the point where you and a couple of the players on that team, Ruben, had your own players meeting in which you guys kind of hashed out any differences and stuff that you were going through during the season. And that really turned that season around. Walk us through maybe that meeting a little bit and what was going through your mind at that point.
So everybody in our locker room knew that we were really talented, but we weren't putting the wins together. We couldn't close out games sometimes, or we just get blown out. And there was also like a lot of chemistry issues, like on court and off the court. So we really decided as a team, we're like, yo, we have to put our foot down. We have to get all this stuff hashed out because this is a playoff game, you know, this is win or go home. So we really did that. I think it was the day before the game. And then we had a little small one in the locker room when you weren't there. And we made all our points clear, emphasized everything. And then we just went out there and we played.
Well, and what I really loved about that meeting was, even like you said, Bill and I weren't involved in the meeting, but before practice, you guys all stood in a row and talked to us about what your expectations were, and maybe some things we could adjust as coaches. Because, I mean, there's no coach out there that's perfect, and input from players is always extremely important. And I love sharing that story, man, because I think it showed your guys' leadership and capabilities you had. And we went into that playoff game, and I mean, we dominated Lucas. And I don't think anybody expected that. But that, again, just shows the kind of leadership you were capable of. Not just you, but other players. And then we went into the city finals versus Beal, and that was one of the only years that the winner and loser, like whoever went to the city finals, didn't go to Wassa. Only the winner did. And we played Beal. We were up at halftime. We were up going into the third quarter, and then we had a lot of calls go against us. Alden fouled out in the third. You had 4 fouls in the third. Spencer had 4 fouls in the third, and we just, kind of game got a little bit away from us. But I still that game goes on in my mind to this point. There's not been too many games that have coached that 5 years later still ring in my head, and I still visualize the game. But that team was special, and I think that if we had an opportunity at Wassa, I think that definitely would have been our season.
I think so, but that's just how life goes.
Oh, for sure, buddy, for sure. Grade 12 was talk us a little bit about grade 12. That wasn't our best season, but kind of walk us through a little bit of it.
Grade 12 was the year we lost in semifinals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to remember it.
We had a lot of chemistry issues that year.
Oh, okay.
A lot of chemistry issues that year. Yeah, now you're starting to come back to you.
Yeah, that year was just filled with a lot of chemistry issues. I guess a lot of it had to do with, I think me personally, like when I look at it now, a lot of that stemmed from me. I take a lot of responsibility from that because I tried to push people to do things that maybe they weren't as comfortable with. I think one of that, I don't know how to put in clean words, but
we'll try to, buddy. I gotta post this.
No, but I tried to push people into roles that they weren't really too comfortable with. And I guess my leadership style wasn't the best. Maybe I was too relaxed, and I expected people to do things, but I didn't push them as hard.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, leadership comes in all different aspects, right? I also think we had a group of kids that weren't ready for that kind of leadership.
Yeah.
So I know you said you take responsibility, but I think it was a lot to do with the group of kids we had weren't ready for that. We learned a lot from that season, though. Although, on court, I don't think it was, obviously it wasn't our most successful season. You in particular took a lot away from that season. And then as we entered grade 13, man, you were lights out last year. And those experiences in grade 12, I think really helped you to have the season you had last year. Grade 13, man, that was one of the best seasons. That was the best season I've ever seen you play. I had coaches come up to me after the game, a lot of coaches, just talk about, who are you? And talk about your skill set and how much they would love to have a player with your ability. But ability aside, I think from a leadership standpoint, you took that mantle in the grade 13 and everybody looked up to you. You could see, the way you played your style, it would reflect and transfer onto other players. And we had a lot of young players on that team, Ethan, Mateus, Khaled. Those kids developed because of you. I think that grade 12 year was extremely important for you. Grade 13, let's talk about grade 13 because I think that was a fun year for us. I think. Go ahead, kind of walk us through a little bit of grade 13 there, man.
Grade 13, it all started with me trying to tell everybody in the grade 12 year, come back, please come back, one more year. Like Eldon, Mo, all those guys.
And we lost them. That team was talented, but we didn't have the depth with losing Eldon and Mo.
Mm-hmm. Alpha too, all those guys, but like they went to university as I did. Didn't pursue basketball, but that grade 13 year, it was it was special for me because in the beginning I did really want a scholarship. I was really shooting like, oh, I need to get a scholarship. I want to go play college or university basketball. So the year prior, in the off season, I was really working hard, just shooting a lot of shots, trying out different things, see what works, see what doesn't work. And then I came in and I just did the same thing. I realized that we're gonna have a younger team, and I tried to be a little bit patient with them, but there comes that time where you just have to put your foot down, kinda.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized also some people work better with more of a lackadaisical leadership style. But I think I realized that a little bit too late in the season.
I would disagree with you on a little too late in the season. But, key to being a good leader, and I think this is extremely important, and this is where a lot of kids and even coaches struggle with. You said it. I mean, you got to learn how can I talk to this guy? I got to talk to this guy a little bit different. This guy doesn't react the way this guy reacts to me yelling at him. That's big, man. I mean, that's grown-up stuff that you're talking about there in your grade 13 year. And that's most kids don't figure that out, man. That's great stuff, buddy.
But that year, it was like every other year, like people saw Beal as the number one, and then everybody else. But I say that year is very special. We had like you have the posters on the wall. Wassa at Laurier, that was really different.
That was, man. I mean, that's. I mean, just so everybody knows, I mean, we finished as the number one seed that year. We got a little bit of a spanking in the city finals, but you guys didn't quit, and that's the leadership. I think if we went back to the grade 12 year or grade 11 year, if we play like that in the city finals, I don't know how we would have reacted in Wassa. But the maturity level, pardon?
I know we would have shut down.
Yeah, but the maturity level that you guys showed, you, Spencer, Peter, Daniel, Osama, those guys, but you in particular, the maturity level from losing that game embarrassingly, let's admit it, that was an embarrassing loss, to the performance you guys put up at Wassa. And that Wassa game, we were down 11 at halftime. I think we only had 14 points in the first half. It was not a good first half. But you guys came out in the second half, and like you said, the atmosphere, was just insane. A couple calls don't go our way, and we miss a couple key shots late, and that's the game. But man, when I look at these posters back here, buddy, and I get a lot of people talk about them, that's you. All that starts with you. All that starts with what you contributed from grade 9 to grade 13. I interviewed Zach Wilcox this morning, and he says he can't believe where the program is to where it was his 5 years of high school, and that's you, 100%. That's you, man. We appreciate and love everything you did for us. It's one of a kind.
Thank you. You definitely pushed the program a lot. You don't realize it, but you did a lot of small things, like with the rides and getting us in all those tournaments and all that stuff. Just the little small things like those, that really did help us.
I appreciate that, buddy. I do, man. I want you to I want to talk about something that I think is going to embarrass you a little bit. But I want to know, what was your first reaction when you saw your image on the door going into the gym?
I was like, is this for real? But to be honest, my sister actually sent it to me.
Oh, nice. So you knew ahead of time.
No, she sent it to me I can't remember what. It was maybe like a day after, and she's like, wow, look at all this people. I'm like, wow.
I think it's unbelievable. I think it's unbelievable, buddy. And I think it's so well deserving of everything you contributed. And that was what I said in the post. The next generation has to walk through you into the program you built. And I think that's extremely fitting. I think that's Well deserved. Very well deserved.
Thank you, thank you. Did you do it?
No, I didn't do it, buddy. I mean, I had a suggestion, but that was it. We didn't do the printing or the installing, but uh, I don't have the image on my desktop, and it would take me too long to figure out how to get through Facebook on this Zoom meeting to show it. But I'll put it as a poster or the cover of this interview when we show it. The pandemic. I mean, you got lucky, very lucky that you got your 5th year in. A lot of kids weren't so lucky. Everybody that we've talked to, I asked the same question, like, how have you gotten through this personally? Everybody has a different way to deal with this. How has the pandemic affected you? Obviously, online schooling is not as a little harder than being in person, but just life in general.
Honestly, just take it one day at a time, one day at a time, try to keep safe as best as possible. Yeah, that's how we do it. Honestly, just one day at a time.
Oh, I mean, that's what a lot of people have said, and those are key words, right? Don't look too far ahead. Let's just get through today into tomorrow. Eventually, it'll get better, man. Online schooling. Last thing here, quickly. How has that been for you? I know, we talked with a lot of kids who were leaving Laurier last year who weren't sure whether or not they wanted to do online. We were just kind of, walking through the process with them. How have you adjusted to it?
I'll be completely honest. Online schooling it's different. It's very different in the sense that you almost feel like you're not in school. Like for me personally, I don't have a lot of scheduled lectures, and I could go to lectures anytime during the week. So it's really flexible, but it feels like I have too much authority. Like I just go whenever I want. And it feels like I'm not in school.
No, but I think that's important. And you said it. I haven't heard anybody say that you have too much authority. I think that's important because that makes time management so much more crucial in dealing with the online schooling.
It does. You really have to manage your time because there's nobody, first of all, you don't meet anybody really. There's nobody saying, oh, this is due at this time, It's just you have to be on everything. All your courses, you have to be on top of it. And especially now during exams, everything's crashing down. You have to make sure you really been going to all the lectures, all the content of the courses, all that. So time management is really important.
Any words of if we had any grade 7 or 8s watching this who are thinking of coming to Laurier next year, what would you say to them?
Go. Trust me, it's worth it. Just go.
It's short, buddy, but you know what? I appreciate it, man. We're hoping we get some kids watching this that are in the area and thinking about coming to Laurier. Again, I can't thank you enough for being with us and being with us for the last 5 years, man. It gets a little teary-eyed here when I start thinking that not going to get to see you on the court anymore at Laurier. I mean, you were a big part of the program and even my last 5 years there, buddy, and I really appreciate it, man.
I'll definitely be there for practice, though.
Well, you better be. I mean, we talked about that, right? Once we get our schedule up next year, because there's going to be a season. We'd love to have you out. You know that the kids love you, they respect you, and I whatever day you decide to come, I want to be there the first time you walk through your own door wrap. I want to put that on film. I think that'd be pretty cool.
For sure.
Thanks again, Venroy. For everybody, this is Venroy Bartley, 2-time team MVP, 2-time All-Star, and one of the best players we've ever had come through our program. Thanks again, man.